The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor,
Happy Thursday, guys.
Martine Wishmare from General Bytes,
Howdy ho!
Josh Shigala from the Standard.io. Muted.
Moin, 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 moin.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one. ARK Invest, Cathie Wood, says that institutions are moving into Bitcoin and could add $500,000 to its price. If institutions move just 5% of their value into Bitcoin, and it does look like they're going to choose Bitcoin, according to Miss Wood, it could increase the price of Bitcoin by $500,000. Dan Eve, your thoughts on institutions entering Bitcoin?
It's always been like the holy grail, hasn't it? The institutions are coming, like, oh, the big money's flooding in. And it slowly does. It's trickling in, right? So you've got kind of, obviously, some of the banks have started buying up Bitcoin publicly, or at least providing services for their wealthy clients. Some of them even dropping the bar a bit and saying, right, okay, we're gonna offer Bitcoin services. You've got the futures going live. You've got the ETF, like there's multiple ETFs now. So the institutions are slowly eking in, but it's like a gradual process, right? It starts off slow. There's a few treading water and dipping their toes in, and then it becomes like a tsunami. Everyone suddenly jumps in. Maybe if this bull run isn't over, that's going to be kind of what triggers the next stage, right? Of this particular bull run is a few more of these big companies coming in. So although obviously it's kind of in a way a bad thing, like, oh, the big institutions, it's the original, it's like the old money, like on Titanic, it's like, oh, you're the old money, right? At the same time, it kind of, again, it lends credence to the fact that Bitcoin is actually sound money, because the one thing is that a lot of these institutions are actually regulated, and if they're regulated and they're very strict and they've got tight internal controls and on around what they put money into, then then actually dipping into Bitcoin is quite a big thing, because it means that they've assessed it, they've looked into it from a kind of what's the word? I can't even, well, yeah, just from a regulatory point of view and risk assessment, and they've said, right, okay, actually Bitcoin, it's although it's seen as kind of, there's this bad ethos of, what's the word? Criminals, it's all criminals and it's all environmentally bad and blah blah blah, there's all the FUD. They've actually assessed it and said, actually, that's a lot of that's BS, and Bitcoin has overall some really good qualities, especially as being sound money that can't be controlled by a particular entity. And that's the most important thing, right? It's something that in today's climate, where there's money printing like nobody's business, trillions of dollars printed, even in the last year, Bitcoin is something that can't just be manipulated by a particular party or a particular government. And the more it spreads out, right, the harder it is to manipulate the currency, the more of a democratic currency it becomes, rather than being manipulated by single individuals. So whilst it's kind of bad that the institutions are moving in, at the same time,
and let's face it will do good for the price.
Dan, looks like your microphone changed there at the end. Martine Wishmare, the banks are here. Is this good for Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think it depends on who you ask. I personally, I'd like to see Bitcoin remain like our currency, the anonymous crypto punks that started it, basically. So seeing the institutional money arrive, and basically it's a wall of money coming our way. Yeah, good for the price, but it's I like to see a dip every now and then. I don't like to see it always going up, because that makes me realize I don't nearly have enough satoshis, for riding that train up. So yeah, it's maybe good, maybe bad. I don't know. I found the article a bit weird because it says, oh, it could be 500,000. Well, I say it could be 1 million, but I'm not saying when. So my prediction will always come true. The price will go up, but when? We all want to know when, Moon, and she didn't answer that question in this interview. She just screamed 500,000. And now everybody is copy pasting that, while she didn't say when or when that would happen, and when 5% of all institutional investors will have allocated some to Bitcoin or crypto. I don't think they will go into like Doge and all the doggy coins. I think they'll just stick to Bitcoin really, and probably Ethereum. But yeah, so the article, it was a bit disappointing. I hope to find the answer, when will this happen, but there was nothing about it, about when it will happen. So for now, yeah, well, if 500,000, I say it will be 1 million, but I'm not going to say when. But my prediction will eventually come true. So yeah.
Well, everyone knows that Mad Bitcoins has famously predicted that the price of Bitcoin will go to infinity. Infinity, yes, the largest number known to man. And it's a bit interesting to think about a tsunami of money hitting us and that being a good thing. It seems like during the tsunami, it'll be pretty crazy. After the tsunami, maybe the wave rolls out, goes back to normal, or maybe we never have a new normal again. Josh Segala, your thoughts about the institutions finally entering Bitcoin?
Come on. When are the institutions going to jump into crypto punks? That's why they've put on the balance sheet. I think there was one institution that bought a crypto punk.
You know that all serious banks hold curio cards.
That's true. The curio card, naturally, of course, especially number 20. Especially number 20. Hey, look, the institutions have been coming for years. I don't know. I think we've lost touch a little bit on what Bitcoin was about. And what Bitcoin was about was banking the unbanked, allowing people to hold money that is not controlled by the state, the separation of money and state. And really, we're still on that process. I feel like the Lightning Network allows for that. Onboarding to the Lightning Network is a little bit tricky. There are some issues in terms of funding channels and stuff like that for the unbanked. Obviously, people that live on $1 a day, it's not really working for them. So, but I don't think it's a lost cause. I think we're still edging towards that. Look, it's an open protocol. If the institutions want in, I think, why would you not want to? Why would you want to hold vast amounts of your balance sheet in a unit of account that is being printed out of nowhere at a ridiculous rate? Why would you? Why would you not hold something rare? If it's going to be gold, it's kind of you have costs involved with holding that that are more than Bitcoin. It's definitely a good choice for some people, but Bitcoin is also a good choice. It's just you have to have a CEO that's a little bit more risk hungry, because it could just go down 5%. And while us in the crypto space, a 5% drop is like meh, 10% drop is like meh. Like we're more, people in the crypto space, they're not interested in slight percentage changes in their portfolio. We're looking for multiples. We're looking for X's. Like that's how gaga land we live. And so we've got to remember, if you're a CEO, you've worked a long time, you've got your MBA, you've done a lot of work to get where you are. And if your balance sheet drops by 30% because you bought Bitcoin at all-time high and it's dropped, you're out of a job. So I think it'll take a while for institutions still. I think what it does do, though, is protect us from massive dips, because I think the institutions, for that exact reasons, are waiting for dips. And we've seen Bitcoin dip below the 50,000 mark a few times during this bull run. As soon as it gets up there, it gets to 51, 52, it'll drop back down, but it just doesn't do the big collapse. And that's because I do feel these institutions are like, oh, here's the dip, buy it up. Here's the dip, buy it up. And they keep coming in. So it's happening. It's definitely happening. But I think they won't be buying when it's above 50 for a little while. They're going to keep buying these dips.
Buying up the dip works well into the exit question. Last week, the Bitcoin predictor ball, even bigger than the rock, predicted that the price would go down. The ball was correct. Now, Dan Eve, will the price of Bitcoin be higher or lower this time next week?
Boom, up. We're going to finish the year on a high.
Martin Wishmare.
I think for the next foreseeable future, we'll be going like this, up, down, up, down, up, down, because I will see a lot of volatility. The market is a bit shaky. So yeah, well, just looking at the ball won't be able to respond to that. So I'd say up.
Up, down, a push, up, down. Joshua Shigala, will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week?
I think the thing is that most people tend to sell a little bit of profits before they go on holidays, before they hit the Christmas. They want to buy Christmas presents. They want to consume. But then closer to Christmas, you tend to get bonuses paid out. And where do you put those bonuses? Hey, let's chuck it into Bitcoin. Shall we, love? Yeah, and they do. So I think we'll be up.
And no one quoting stock to flow. Stock to flow in the middle of the Christmas holiday season seems highly questionable. And now the Bitcoin predictor ball. Will the price be higher this time next week? As I see it, yes. Yes. The ball is bullish. So you can make all of your choices based upon a Bitcoin predictor ball. Moving on to issue 2. Guy who claims he invented Bitcoin loses $100 million in court, calls it a win. Yes, good old Craig Wright is back in the news again this week, having just lost his lawsuit to Kleinman and not proven that he is Satoshi Nakamoto. And now he's on the hook for $100 million, which should be no problem if he would just move those initial Bitcoins. If only he had the keys. The court couldn't give him the keys. Suing the Bitcoin programmers won't give him the keys, but still he claims victory, and most of the mainstream media followed him. Shout out to Gizmodo for a rare good article from the mainstream media that even properly doesn't name the con man in the title. Whereas CNBC published a tweet and an article that they later retracted, claiming not only that he won the case, but that he was proved and was Satoshi. So we've seen lots of horrible articles about this. Martin Wishmare, your thought about the greatest or the latest news from good old Craig Wright.
I am so sick and tired of this man. I don't know why the media keeps giving him any mention, or if it's just a lack of understanding. This guy is obvious fraud. We had what was his name, Thomas, who we had on the show, who proved it basically.
Arthur Van Pelt. We
Right.
tried to get Arthur for today's show, but he's filming another podcast. Be sure to check out Arthur's series. I think it's called Dr. Bitcoin, all about the Craig Wright situation.
We're all Satoshi, except Craig Wright, because we know he's a fraud, and that's still the same, and no lawsuit can change that. And I'm 100% sure he will never, ever pay that 100 million. There will be big problems paying it. He will be waiting for a suitcase with a tulip trust thingy and special courier or whatever nonsense he makes up. He's just an attention whore, basically. He's not even like serious, so no. I wish we just would totally ignore this guy on the show, because sorry, Greg, but your whole BS fee bullshit, nobody is interested.
Oh, what tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceive. Joshua Shigala, is Greg wrong? Really? Satoshi Nakamoto?
Oh, the the need to like I just don't understand all this fuss and to do, going to court and all this money and all these lawyers and all these suits and all this stuff to, to deal with this court case with climate and IRA. I like just sign the block and then it's done. Like what, that to me feels, I don't know. It's just, it's sad that there's so many people that are still suckered in by this long tail con job. I do feel it's a long tail con. There are people close to me that really love the whole thing, and I just can't bear it anymore because I do see it as a long tail con. Like these court cases, all they do is try to give more credence to this guy, that he is Satoshi. And really, would a cryptographer go through all this just to do that? No, like he would just sign the key and go, there you go. But yeah, I just feel that there's a lot of people getting suckered in right now. What I feel that this is probably what it is getting the whole community that's in there to really bury themselves deep as the media start talking about Satoshi lifting the value of BSV through these court cases and stuff. And then basically, I don't have any proof for this, and maybe I'm wrong, but hey, we could see Craig Wright and Calvin A and some of the other top elite in that project just basically pulling out, knowing that's a lost cause. This is the final hurrah, going through all these long unwinnable court cases to basically make people have rumors of, oh, maybe it is, but what if it comes out at the end of the case that it is him? It's gonna moon. So let's buy now, driving up the price. Meanwhile, Craig's dumping his bags and getting out. But it could be that's what's happening. So I would just be very careful with anything with that. I don't know. I just don't study this stuff enough. I've got too much other stuff to think about.
It was great in the Gizmodo article how it talked about how Craig suing the programmers, trying to force them to return his lost keys to him, was very unlibertarian. And how all these things Craig's doing, relying on the court, bragging in public, not proving that he has the keys, not being self-reliant, are not the actions of the creator of Bitcoin. They just don't line up ideologically with the creator. So unfortunately, though, it does keep going. Dan, Eve, your thoughts on Craig Wright's latest victory?
It's ludicrous. It's like even from a publicity perspective, whether they won the court case or not, the Klymans had something to stand to win from just the publicity. If they won, then cool. If not, then they still got publicity from it and a chance at getting a scoop of money from the guy. Like he just laps up any publicity that he can that makes him, and anything that orders, like the Cobra Bitcoin thing with Bitcoin.org, he'll just try anything that's going to default in his favor. But I still have a little claim to he's not Satoshi, which is that in 2017 I went for a meal and within a meter of me he said Satoshi is probably dead by now. So it's definitely not him. He could prove it. He did the BBC thing in 2015 where he faked it with a dollar signature instead of signature, as the code. He replaced some lines and people snooped it out. He's been caught multiple times faking documents, faking emails, and faking whole trails. And still, the problem is the courts just have to give him a chance to say his bit, right? He can come up with something different each time. He can take on someone different each time. The UK libel laws are ridiculous, so he can just take advantage of that, that whole ridiculous thing. And so yeah, it's just balls. The problem is that people have got a long shot in backing a horse, right? It's like, even if there's all the evidence stacking against them, there's still people who will believe it. They will be, they'll have in their head, they'll read a few stories, and no matter what evidence is provided, they won't want to go against that evidence and say, they'll think to themselves, no, he sounds like he could be actually, Satoshi. And they will, that's it. Once they're in, and they don't want to look like idiots. That they, the people that have kind of admitted or thought in the past that he was Satoshi have kind of slowly backed away. They don't want to embarrass themselves by kind of saying that they were fooled by it, right? Because a lot of them are evidence-based people. So they slowly back away, they disappear and they evade contact with anyone that mentions his name. Someone like Calvin Ayre is going to eventually run out of money. They can only pump BSV for so long before it's just going to die. It's just crazy. Unfortunately, you can't, like, in a free market world, you can't, like, and what we all believe in terms of, like, lack of not censoring people. He's just got to speak, and some people will believe him. But as more and more evidence stacks against him, more and more people will be in complete disbelief, and he'll just have a small circle of flat earthers just circling around him like awful little vultures, like thinking they're going to get a few pennies here and there. Satoshi. And those people will die out because they'll be hungry. Vultures are always skinny. They're always going for scraps, and the vultures will circle around him until the scraps, all the scraps of meat are done. He doesn't have the Bitcoin. He could prove it. He could sign it. It's all ridiculous. All the ridiculous stories, like someone's going to, great Scott Smarty, someone's going to deliver me the papers and you're going to be in the rain in the 2020, early 2020. That never happened. Everything's a lie. So just, like, think of all the lies and think about how ridiculous it is believing those lies, believing the flat earth stuff and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, if you want to believe he's Craig Wright, then go, Satoshi, then go for it. But at the end of the day, you're probably wrong. And like I said, Satoshi is probably dead by now. I heard from his own mouth.
Well,
Dan's right. I don't even believe that he's Craig Wright anymore.
Yeah, I've read articles where they're even blaming the forgeries on someone else. And that it couldn't have been Craig forging, because he was, like, the IP address was 900 kilometers away from where he was at the time and stuff like this. It's like, have you heard of a VPN? I don't know. Like,
it wasn't me. It was the one-armed man. Exit question, force prediction, yes or no. Will the Kleinman estate get the $100 million they're promised? Martin Wishmare.
No, he will not pay up. I know he will not. There will be dragging on for years. There will be no money. He will either have hated it all, or there will be excuses every time. There will be no money. No, I can guarantee you that.
Joshua Shigala.
well, if there's a one-manned courier that comes along with a briefcase on the 3rd of December 2022, then he'll get it, because that's how cryptographers make sure keys come together. They trust random couriers over maths. That's how that works.
Surely it'll come true. Dan Eve.
Our consensus says no.
Bonus exit question. Will I ever get my apology from the mainstream media? Now that Cathie Wood is saying the price of Bitcoin could go up by $500,000 if the institutions, the big banks enter, now that they're putting out this nonsense that Craig Wright is Satoshi, are they ever going to publish a retraction and apology for all the bad Bitcoin stories they put out? All the time they were like, it's a Ponzi scheme, it's a scam, and all the times that they also encouraged Craig Wright. Martin Wishmare, will the mainstream media will they apologize? Also, they could just put it out to Dear Mad Bitcoins right there on the headline.
Don't keep your hopes up, Thomas. From my experience, the main media, not just the mainstream media, but crypto media too, if they make an error, they will not correct it. At best they will delete the original article and pretend it's if nothing happened, but no excuses. No, they will not. No, they will not. Don't keep your hopes up, and definitely don't wait for an apology. No, sorry, Thomas, but that's the way the media seems to work nowadays.
I'm expecting one of those huge headlines. We were wrong. Bitcoin is amazing. It's on the moon. Crazy people like libertarians and mad Bitcoins were totally correct. We ignored them for years. Joshua Shigala, is that tomorrow's New York Times? Am I predicting the future again?
There's never any apologies from the lamestream, and when it is, it's in the bottom tiny little bit. And the thing is with lamestream media is that they tend to want to push some sort of narrative from an advertising agency that's paying them, and if the narrative is out there, that's their job done. They don't really care for truth anymore. We are living in the disinformation age, of course. So yeah.
Dan Eve, all I want is an apology. Will I get it?
No, that relies on on journalism having integrity, and we all know that integrity is very, very scarce right now. So you're never going to get your "we're sorry."
And if I do, I imagine, like Josh says, it'll be on the bottom of the page. It won't be one of those holy fucking shit, man lands on moon, takes Bitcoin with him. No, but we'll still wait. We'll still wait with hope.
Integrity Farms. That's what you're.
Check out the WCN Clips channel. WCN Clips has more than 84 subscribers. Still a chance for you to join right now. Click that red subscribe button in the upper right-hand corner. Learn about Wright scamming the Bitcoin industry, how to prevent crypto scams, and Squid Game cryptocurrency rug pull on the WCN Clips channel. Hey, just Google WCN Clips.
Yeah, by the way, come on, guys. Do it. 84. It's been on 84 for a while. Let's see if we can get it above 100. Go there right now and subscribe. Watch, or don't even subscribe. Just look at one of the videos and YouTube will shove a few more in your face.
And the one thing, it's because there are so many clips, it is always a good idea to, after you view the video, just hit that thumbs up button. So whenever you see a video and the thumbs up button is already on, you've already watched it. So that way, you can use it as a sort of like a handy tool. Well, you can also click thumbs down, but then, that won't really help us.
They're hidden nowadays, so that's fine. We don't care anymore.
Yeah.
It's also a great time to push thumbs up for this video. Remember, when you push thumbs up, YouTube tells other people about this video, and then maybe they could come in and watch some intelligent cryptocurrency conversation instead of just the price, the price, the price. Have you heard about the price? I heard about it. Moving on to issue 3, Reason Magazine, the fake environmentalist attack on Bitcoin. We've been talking about it for years now, but once again, we have an excellent source, shockingly, from the media. As the source says, one of the starkest arguments against Bitcoin is based on a logically flawed argument that its energy use will increase in a linear fashion as it becomes more widely used. The exact thing that I've been saying. Critics take the total amount of energy used by Bitcoin miners and divide that into the current number of transactions to arrive at a fallacious per transaction cost. They then project that per transaction cost into the future. As unfortunately Senator Warren says, a single Bitcoin transaction uses the same amount of electricity as the typical US household uses in a month. But she's wrong. Joshua Shigala, what about this terrible environment, this fake environmentalist attack on Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming from Reason magazine. I like Reason. I'm a libertarian at heart, so I tend to resonate. But yeah, they're spot on. I mean, I've always hated the analogy of one Bitcoin transaction is equal to yeah. It's like, what? How does that even work? How do you analyze that? That's just a ridiculous notion. Obviously, if you create a multi-sig and you do lightning networks, you can do lots of transactions. But even if you don't, even if it's on-chain, you can't really equate those two. Anyway, yeah, environmentalism. I mean, I've said it, we've said it 1,000,000,000 times on this show. I think when I talk to miners do a lot more exploration into cheaper alternative power sources that are putting energy to waste and actually collecting that and, finding some rare numbers with that energy that would have gone to waste anyway. More and more R&D is going to really great sources of energy. Humans don't need to be using less energy. They need to find better sources. And like I said a million times, we're sitting on a literal, like so much lava. It's insane. Like heat is just incredibly abundant to infinitum, like below just dig, I don't know how far, 30 kilometers down, you'll be maybe 50, 100, let's say 100 kilometers, you'll surely hit some lava. Like, what are you what? I don't know. I get so perplexed and annoyed at these arguments.
Dan, Eve.
Well, the problem is it's really easy to kind of break things down and just pick a particular figure and try and say, right, okay, one Bitcoin transaction uses the same as a household does for 56 days. And you can understand where Cherokee tribesman Elizabeth Warren is coming from, in that you can just pick a you could just pick an arbitrary little figure. But then, as Josh said, there's Lightning Network, so you've literally got a load more Bitcoin transactions that are bundled up into second layer solutions. Then you've got other second layer solutions like state chains and stuff that are coming in. Like there's all sorts more that all sorts more that's going on than just a basic transaction on chain. The fact is that you can sit there and say that it's bad for the environment, but there's plenty of other things that are bad for the environment. Someone's pointed out about the Christmas lights, right? So Christmas lights, which are only on for like a month a year, they use more than Bitcoin does. We've talked about it before, like the PlayStations and Xboxes on standby, just being on standby alone uses more than Bitcoin does a year. And this article goes on to say about the market cap. If you say that it's the 36th ranked country, if Bitcoin usage was a country, it's ranked 36. But then if you look at the other sort of 10 countries either side, the market cap of those countries is minimal compared to Bitcoin, and that says something about the use for it. To say that it does useless, it's based on useless transactions is ridiculous, because it's based on the security, like the calculations. They're what secures Bitcoin. So it's basically people talking about technology that don't understand technology or don't want to understand it. They've got a lot more to gain from making ridiculous statements. And you can say, it's as Seth Jensen's saying, USD is bad for the environment. Just think about all the money that's printed, the distribution of that money, the fact that when it's damaged, it needs to be replenished. Coins, especially with inflation going the way it is, coins are worth nothing. Like the weight of carrying those coins around, the human energy of carrying those coins around, and the extra calorie. Like you could say, that if you went down to the real level of detail, just carrying like a pocket full of change and the energy that requires, and the extra food that you need to eat to carry around that money. You've got to clean the money. You've got to smelt the money down when it becomes so worn. So just by picking a few figures, plucking them out of thin air, it just makes you look stupid. And there's already been proven that miners seem to go, they're attracted to the cheapest energy, and the cheapest energy is excess energy, and especially the fact that electricity can't travel far. It can't, you can't take excess energy from a power station somewhere and like give it to somewhere else, like thousands of miles away. It doesn't work like that. So you have miners that are attracted to areas where there's excess energy produced, and not to mention the fact that we said about the geothermal power of the earth and the sort of molten iron core and all that. But then you've got like nuclear fusion, which is pretty much kind of just around the corner. Every kind of couple of months you hear a new breakthrough in like plasma being like to a to a higher temperature, and if only we can maintain that, like the process that happens in the sun, we've got unlimited energy on Earth. Let alone if we were to have a Dyson sphere and all that stuff. So I think it's basically BS, and it's not going to like increase linearly because of obvious reasons. It doesn't just go up in a graph like that. Yeah, it's increasing at the moment, the energy usage, but also the amount of renewable energy and the clean energy that we're producing is getting better. So it's very easy to just boil Bitcoin down to a few single transactions and cost of those transactions in energy. But realistically, you've got to look at the whole picture. And there's a context, right? Journalism's, they're always saying like, there's a context thing now. You can't just take this figure and say, blah, 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 make a load of conclusions from it. There's context behind it. So the same thing applies from saying Bitcoin's bad for the environment. You can't just say that Bitcoin one transaction uses more energy than a household in 56 days, because there's context behind it. So apply the same rules everywhere and not just to the things you want to apply it to. And then you'll have the rationale that shows that Bitcoin is ninja.
Dyson vacuum, no. Dyson sphere, yes. Martine Wishmare.
Well, the moment I opened that link and I saw her face, I thought, you're the senator that was against Bitcoin, not because of the environment. She honestly doesn't care about the environment, because this is a senator that flies everywhere in a private jet. Yeah, because, security and comfort. But, her carbon footprint, probably, I don't know, it's more than a US household uses in 1 month. So no, definitely. She's just like tweaking a bit. Oh, Josh just gone, but she's just tweaking the truth to her advantage. She's working for the state. She wants to get rid of Bitcoin because Bitcoin will erode the power of the state, and it's obvious. And it's also obvious that this senator does not give a fuck about the environment. She flies everywhere in a private jet. I mean, if you're such a tree-hugging hippie, you fly coach in a regular plane. You don't fly private. So no, this is one of those many examples. In the past, I would always say, Bitcoin, that's stuff that's used by criminals, just criminals, not the nurse in their attic with a cat, No. Bitcoin was money for criminals. And this is fading because everybody sees that everyone with a little bit of pocket change to spare is investing it in Bitcoin. So now they're pushing the carbon footprint agenda. It's not working. It's just wrong. The conclusions she makes are wrong, as Dan says. So, this is all about control, and it's so obvious that I don't understand why mainstream media is even picking up on this. They're not checking any facts. They just copy paste the whole thing from a politician that wants to publish their agenda. So no. And but it's a good article. I think it's worth reading. Definitely worth reading. It's one of the few articles I read on Bitcoin and energy consumption that actually makes sense. So I added reason to my bookmark list for news. Definitely good reading.
Hey, just by the way, I just had a quick look. I mean, the Earth's mantle, which is just underneath the crust, which is, you have to dig about 50.
You're in your
50
lava
He just looked. He dug down there.
50 to 70 kilometers down, right? 50 to 70 kilometers down.
Lava.
3,000 degrees Celsius.
Well,
what's the problem? Why are we still talking about energy being an issue on this planet? Why are we digging up oil and burning it to create steam when we could just dig a hole a little bit deeper? I don't get it.
There's enough lava for everyone.
Yeah, seriously.
Just ask the people in La Palma right now.
Yeah, well, my brother's house got flattened by that thing.
And that's what I mean. There's enough lava for everyone.
All you need is lava. And I just want to read this section again. It says that the environmental argument against Bitcoin is based on a logically flawed argument that its energy use will increase in a linear fashion as it becomes more widely used. Critics take the total amount of energy usage by Bitcoin miners and divide that into the current number of transactions to arrive at a per transaction cost. They then project falsely that per transaction cost into the future. It's wrong. And you should pull this up whenever we do the environmental story, because I'll just read this over and over again. Exit question, blah, blah, blah. What will it feel like when how long until the environmentalists get it that Bitcoin encourages renewables, encourages good energy use, and can even use hydroelectric dams to fill up batteries, other things like that? 6 months, 2 years, or never? Joshua Shigala. You're muted.
2 years.
Dan Eve, will it be 2 years?
Oh, I think it's going to be never. There'll be people still holding on to it just because they don't like it. They'll just be saying forever that any use of electricity that isn't an absolute necessity for something that they specifically support is a waste. So they're always going to have the naysayers going, yeah, it's bad for the environment.
Martine Wishmayer, will the environmentalists come around?
No, they'll never shut up, because we had tree-hugging hippies since the 60s, and they will always be there. And as Dan pointed out, as long as they don't have a use for it, they will blame it someone else that they are wasting their electricity. So no, the tree-hugging hippies will always be around.
Hey, I'm a tree hugging hippie. I like hugging trees.
That's why your face is so pink today.
I notice if I go into the forest, which I live right next to, everyone says hi, everyone's happy. If you walk around the city,
they don't say hi, they say Guten Tag.
Yeah, they say Guten Tag. Moin, moin.
Very good. Looks like I think they'll come around in 2 years. I just again want to be there on the other side when the environmentalists are all with us. When Greta's out there saying, we need to change to Bitcoin. We need to switch to a better money. And then we can have better priorities and maybe a better planet. Or we could just let the rich people take all of our assets and go into space and be stuck down here with the pollution and everything else. Speaking of landfills and dumps, garbage dumps, it's back again. Issue 4. $500 million in Bitcoin lost in the dump. We've been covering this story for seems like years and years now. It was much less money before. This poor, sad Welshman threw away his hard drive full of Bitcoin by mistake. He knew it was a mistake then. He did it by accident. And every year it's just gotten worse. At one point, he was attempting to form a consortium to search the garbage dump. Now it looks like he might be able to purchase the garbage dump if the $500 million in Bitcoin is really there. This is one of those great stories that keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and we keep going up to higher levels of media. Now it's in the New Yorker magazine, and the guy's describing his day as if he went to a psychic or a hypnotist to bring him back there, and he has every detail. And I had mustard on my sandwich, and I put the hard drive into a black plastic bag, and all of this stuff. It's detail after detail, still no money, still no realization that he could have just bought Bitcoin again. He's like, oh, it was a mistake to throw my Bitcoin away. Maybe I should just buy some Bitcoin. Instead, he just does article after article about how sad it is. He lost more and more money every year. Dan Eve, it's up to $500 million. Do you think he'll be able to buy the dump now? Will this story ever end?
It's going to drag on forever, right? He's forever known as it's like the Bitcoin pizza guy, except it's less kind of, less cool, right? Because the Bitcoin pizza transaction was like the first recorded transaction. This is like
it would be cool if he took it the right way and started bragging about it. I threw out $500 million. I've thrown out more money than anyone in the world. I'm the best at that.
Yeah, but he's like, I'm the biggest trash victim ever. And I think, didn't he default to like, he tried to get like funded to be by BSV and Bcash or something. I'm pretty sure that he tried to, he started naysaying on Bitcoin. He went through a period of probably really being pissed off and being like, well, Bitcoin's crap. If I had it, I probably wouldn't, blah, blah, blah. But the fact is that, even if he'd have had the, held the Bitcoin, it's probably quite likely. And he in this story, he goes back about his trips to Disneyland and trips with the lads. He probably, like everyone else who had Bitcoin early days, would have sold some of it, and probably quite a lot of it, because he would have gone, oh shit, it's gone up to $1. Oh no, what am I going to do? I'll set, And so the story that he actually lost it is probably like, just that it's almost like a side issue, right? Because he probably wouldn't have kept it. There's very few people that actually would have held on to all that Bitcoin the whole way up to $500 million and been like, no, I'm still not selling. So it's kind of a nice kind of fairy tale story. It's like that I could have had $500 million. Once I had, when I was mining I started mining like 2013. I had in 2017, I had a load of like .dat files that I renamed. I was mining all sorts of crap, from like Flappy Coin to everything. Yes, I know, really bad Flappy Coin, loads of different random stuff. And I put I had one file which is a .dat, and it was like DC, and it was like, and then it had the balance after it of 335,000, and I was like, which coin could that possibly be? And so I put it into a Dash wallet. And because it was just a bog standard Qt file, like the .dat file, I loaded up the wallet and it showed a balance of like 330,000. And this was when Dash was like $1,100 or something. And I suddenly thought I was a $500 million. I was like, wow, this is amazing. But it turns out that I couldn't spend it. All it did was just show the transactions that are in, and you couldn't do anything with it. So at one point I thought I was a $500 million. But the fact is, even if I had it along the way, I would have sold it like most people do. There's very, very few people that really did believe in Bitcoin that much that they actually held every Satoshi. It would have gone from $500 million. It would have gone down to, I don't know, a couple of $100,000 by the time that he'd gone on his Disney holidays and all the other stuff that he explained in this immense detail in the article, which seems to be like getting more detailed each year. Like he's like, oh, it wasn't just eggs. There was a speckle on the eggs. Like by 2028, he'll be like, oh, there was one particular egg and there was like a shadow on it and it almost looked like a bee. And like, it's just going to get into more detail. It's going to get him interviews, and it's pretty cool, and it's a very lovely story and stuff, and it's very quaint because it's in a small, Newport, small Welsh village, and he could have put Wales on the map. Not saying it's not on the map, but as in, he could have been a $500 million just strolling around Wales with his $500 million of Bitcoin. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just a very sad story that he did lose the hard drive. But it's also a very a cold but lovely story for everyone else who thinks that the more Bitcoin's lost, the better for the ecosystem.
I do love the mainstream media's thirst for this story, and I'm sure they'd adopt your story too, Dan, if you just tell it 100 times. I mean, I had a story once where I looked at my wallet and I didn't have my glasses, and I thought it read, $100 million, but it was only $100 because I read the number wrong. And pretty soon I'm going to be giving interviews to the media every year, and they'll be like, do you remember that time that you thought you had 100 million, but you only had 100? What was that like? What would you do with all the money? Oh, it's so good that you saved it and everything. You could just misread your wallet for these people. They'll love it. They buy anything. Martine Wishmayer, your thoughts on $500 million in the dump?
I have to agree with Dan here. He would never have kept the Satoshis. He would have sold off way years ago. And then he was the guy that sold a lot of coins at a low price. And that's not nearly as interesting for the media because we've all been there. I mean, people are more or less hardwired in their brain to sell when things are ×2 or ×5 or ×10. There is a sort of like chemical reaction in your brain that will just make you press that sell button and put the order in. There is no way he would have kept that 500 billion million gazillion dollars. No, that's just not happening. I mean, we've all been there. We've had lots of Bitcoin at the time, and we had bills to pay. We had parties to attend. We had presents to buy during Christmas. We had we were happy that Bitcoin hit $1 at the time. So, $1 fantasy coins is worth one real world dollar. So yeah, what are you doing? You're selling, of course, not realizing that, the year later it would be $10 for a Bitcoin. And then you would think, oh, damn, I spent so much on beers and coffees. I can't believe it. So no, this person with his trash story, I know, Dan says he probably went into BSV. That makes perfect sense because, if it's on the trash, if it's on the landfill, then that's where the BSV is to be found too, probably. So, yeah.
Well, and I wonder if they'd edit the blockchain to give him access to his coins on BSV. We've often talked about how fake Satoshi wants them to give him all of the Satoshi coins because, and this guy also lost his keys, also very sad. Maybe he'll just be given all the keys if he could provide no proof at all of that.
The developers of Bitcoin will do that, yes. And while they're at it, I also have a hard drive with 11 Bitcoins on them. It's SSED that didn't last for 2 months. So yeah, there's 11 Bitcoins on them. Unfortunately, it's encrypted. I can't access it. The drive is broken. So while they're like reprogramming the blockchain, I would like to have my 11 Bitcoins back too. Thank you in advance.
Well, and they just have a Google form now. You can just submit it. You don't have to provide any proof. You don't have to move the coins, have the keys, anything like that. Your story right there, that's worth 11 Bitcoins, like there.
Yeah. And yes.
You should have said 12, obviously.
Well, it's 11 Bitcoins plus the coins after the fork. So there's some Bcash stuck in there and there's BSV probably in there then. So yeah. I could be a rich
and you
man,
never
Thomas.
would have sold it. You would have held it the whole time. So easy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Joshua Shigala, will this guy ever get his money back? Is the first line of his obituary and his gravesite going to leave? Here lies a Welshman. He dumped his Bitcoin into the dump.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's tragic. The poor guy, like he just can't get over it. But the thing is, all us early Bitcoiners have these stories. Like it's really if you don't, then you do, and you don't want to admit it. Everyone's lost Bitcoin. Like the original Qt client was so sketchy. It was hard to use. It crashed. You'd throw away a file here and there. You'd reboot your computer and or reformat. And you're like, oh, I forgot the Qt. All sorts of stories. I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping he's getting paid for these stories. We have now hit new record highs where the New Yorker has a beautiful animated image of Bitcoin spinning, always the same Bitcoin with the graphic of the chip inside. But yeah, it's really unfortunate he can't get over it. I actually know also some people personally who lost Bitcoin and just haven't gotten over it. Yeah, like in the Butterfly Labs rug pull and like all the way, shit, we've seen Dan pull a regret face there too. Yeah, like it's just part of being in Bitcoin. You want to support certain projects or certain
Mt. Gox, Cripsy, Bitfinex.
Yep.
Did I forget
Bitinstant, Insta Wallet.
We all lost Bitcoin.
All lost Bitcoin, but the media, it's a nice headline. I'm just waiting for the $1 trillion mark now. I'm waiting for the $1 trillion in the dump. Let's see when that happens.
Well, didn't his wife or girlfriend at the time throw out the old hard drive or something? Wasn't that like the case?
He put it in the bag, but she took the bag to the dump.
Yeah,
for some reason they took their trash directly to the dump, which seems like an odd thing to do. Yeah. But situational, I don't know.
You think they're divorced now? Because this is like reasons for the divorce, right?
Some people call it wife changing money.
Wife changing
money. Moving on to the exit question: yes or no? Will he ever get his money back? Dan Eve.
No, it's a no. I mean, he gave all sorts of reasons why the disc could be recovered and stuff like that. And he said, I think he even gave something like, so NASA managed to recover 90% of a disc that got burned up in a satellite coming down or something. But I think it's just wishful thinking, unfortunately. And just got to be saying goodbye to the Bitcoin.
We could get NASA working on this. They're not doing anything else. Martin, will he get his money back?
No, Thomas, of course not. His shitty consumer grade hard drive is long gone. It's buried under meters high pile of fast food wrappers and greasy stuff that's been eating on the electronics for just no. That's it.
Joshua Segala, come on, give this guy some hope. He's going to buy the entire dump. It's $500 million. He'll form a consortium called the Treasure Hunting Garbage Crew, and they'll go in there and they'll buy the whole dump. They'll sift it all for hard drives. It'll be not magnetized. It'll be fine. It'll be ready to go. Tell this man he's going to get his money back.
Well, yeah, look, Wales. They have a great national anthem. Wales unite, Wales will fight, Wales will go eating plankton. Wales will be, Wales are nice, Wales full of spice, and we don't like to be wanked on. That's Derek and Clive, the Wales national anthem. That's all I got to say for the poor guy. I don't think he'll find his hard drive.
I think we've got one last joke. It says on the card that unfortunately, Wales is spelled without the H. If only he had lived in Wales, he would have been crazy rich, but he lives in Wales. So, moving on to issue 5. The U.S. government has seized a record $1 billion worth of Bitcoins a year ago. Now it's worth $3 billion. Yes, as we've talked about in the past, the U.S. government should not have sold their Bitcoins over and over again. As it says in the article from NBC News, the U.S. Marshal Service has sold off more than 187,000 Bitcoins, taking in a paltry $179 million. If they'd held those coins, they could have brought in $10 billion, nearly 56 times as much. As I predicted live on this show, over and over again, the U.S. government should have held the money to fulfill the Smithsonian Museum's dream of one museum per state. We could have even moved Washington, D.C. to the middle of the country so that more people could enjoy it. We could have picked up the monuments physically by helicopter and flown them to Iowa or Kansas. No problem at all. There'd be museums everywhere. The world would be a better place, but instead, the U.S. government sold those Bitcoins to Draper and other capitalists. Let's see, we'll go to Martin Wishmayer. Should the U.S. government have kept their Bitcoins? What a tragedy. They could have built so many museums.
It's funny, this was my story of the week article last week, and it just came out, 2 hours before we went live. And so I mentioned it, and sorry, Thomas, I completely forgot your question. You actually had a question. What was the question again?
Wouldn't it be great if we'd built all those museums? What a loss.
And no, you shouldn't ask me that question, because culturally, I'm as flat as a pancake. I'm only interested in Bitcoin, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin. I don't even care about the altcoins myself, So no, it's... from what I understood in the article last week was that these Bitcoins that have Bitcoin that is being confiscated now is actually confiscated after analysis by chain analysis. And this was like, Silk Road, before they went down, was hacked a few times. So somebody stole like all the coins. And this is what happened with those coins. Those coins went somewhere, and previously they went unnoticed because they just were just focused on Ross and Dread Pirate Roberts, and he has to hang, and we'll get him in jail and get rid of the Silk Road and grab the wallets. But they forgot that somebody else already snitched a lot of coins away from the Silk Road before that happened. So those coins are actually now like they're found, and I really think there will be a little bit of a price dip when these come on the markets, unless they're sold in an auction. But as I said last week, Michael Saylor will buy them all.
As everyone knows, it's the goal of the United States government to spread peace, love, and museums. I remember after 9/11 when the Christian president turned the other cheek and bombed the world with free hospitals and free food. People were so happy. They were like, I hate America, but I love free food. I love free hospitals. And I look forward to those museums, they said. Maybe even worldwide, we could build Smithsonians. Joshua Shigala, is that what the U.S. government should have done? Or in a libertarian fashion, are you going to say it's good for the government to sell the Bitcoin?
Yeah, because we all know governments are good at one thing, and that's monetary policy. They're really good at
museums and museums.
Governments, you know, if you want something done with money, you know that they're going to spend it well. Governments are fantastic at allocating capital. It's been proven countless times over and over. In fact, there's not one case where a government allocates capital badly. Of course, I'm being totally facetious here. And you know what? Tim Draper actually allocates capital very well, investing in a lot of startups and actually putting money to work, building jobs, allocating capital well. So I am super glad that they got rid of it and gave it to a capitalist that actually understands where to allocate capital. I mean, that's the name. A capitalist understands where to allocate capital and create jobs, create wealth, create, you know, more stuff. So, yeah.
Maybe someday Tim Draper and I can collaborate together on a Bitcoin museum. Dan, Eve, what could the government have done? They would have been stuck with 187,381 Bitcoin, around 10 billion free dollars.
Well, I suppose they're like any other people that sold off Bitcoin. They're like the same story of like the Bitcoin pizza, right? They sold it really early and they could have had all that money, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. Like everyone, you know, you look back and go, well, what if I held that Tesla stock, but I had to do something with the money or whatever, you know, it always kind of, you're always looking back on a situation that's good. And people rarely look back and be like, oh, I'm so lucky that I sold that whatever shitcoin at that price because it went to zero. You know, you don't hear money. You don't have stories like that, like hero sells the top. Like you very rarely hear those stories. You hear like someone sold X really early and they could have made loads of money. Wasn't it like he sold like loads of his Apple shares as well really early or something like that? And he, you know, so these are the stories that could have been stories are really cool. And like going back to the hard drive, the thing that kind of, I think that titillates people, as it were, is the fact that the money is out there somewhere in the ether, right? That it could be recovered. So it could be this treasure map type mystery event. But I think what's interesting about that hack is that our friends at Chainalysis found the coins last year, November 3rd, 2020. And so if you think about it like this, someone held like $1 billion of Bitcoin that they'd hacked all this time and then suddenly got it snatched by the feds. Like, how did that happen? Like,
they probably bought a coffee, or maybe they try to cash out on an exchange. I think they when do people get caught with like dirty coins is the moment they're trying to cash it out. So instead of like cashing it out at say Bitstamp or Kraken or Coinbase, they should have like bought Monero, then sell it for Ether, then do that all on a DEX, and then gradually cash out.
Yep. And they probably, and that's it, just a real easy way of being caught, you know, dropping your guard for 1 second, dropping your anonymity, and then suddenly that's it. The feds are in, they jump you in when you're in a library, like, and you're not being careful. But I think that's the crazy thing about it. Like the fact that the coins were actually held for that long. They were stolen in 2014, and it was 6 years later in 2020 that somehow Chainalysis found out where it was, told the feds, nice one, guys. And then
I can imagine the guy like checking, a Blockfolio every day though.
Every day.
No,
Yeah.
and then finally I'm gonna
Come
get.
on, bitches.
The thing is, Thomas, with your question, right? $3 billion is not. The American government printed 2 trillion in the first quarter of this year, like trillion. Like it's not like they care. They can create money out of nowhere and create your Smithsonian's. Like they just don't care about that stuff. They're like, there you go.
All that money printing and not a single new Smithsonian museum. Not a one.
That's a shame.
Moving on to the exit question. Will the government now sue the Bitcoin developers, asking them to edit the blockchain and return the Bitcoin to them? They pushed the wrong button. They fat fingered it. They didn't mean to sell. Martine Wishmayer, will the government sue and also claim that the government is the real Satoshi?
And I think that's the good thing with Bitcoin is that even though the government might want to change the blockchain, it's distributed all over the world. It's impossible. So no, the government will not be able to get their Satoshis back.
Oh, come on. Joshua, the government used to own this Bitcoin. Why can't they just have it returned to them? They used to own it. They could own it again.
Once it's gone, it's gone. It's the beauty. It's the pain and the beauty all mixed up in some chaotic, poetic manner.
Dan, Eve, who's going to tell the government that if it's not your keys, it's not your coins?
I believe because it was done on a computer, they can just press Control-Z and it will be returned to them. And if not, they'll just do what they did during like the gold stealing era, where they just told everyone, you've got to give your gold to us. So it'll be like, you've got to give your Bitcoin to us. And that's probably more likely than getting developers to actually hand over or change the code and convince all the miners to give the Bitcoin to the American government. The government.
We do have some questions in the chat. Remember, you can ask your questions now in the chat. Let's see. Screw asks, what if you only lost the keys to your Bitcoin? Can you still claim them through the form? Yes. Even if you've lost the keys, you can claim the Bitcoin. As Craig Wright has shown you, you don't have to have the keys to get the coins. You just need to make the claim over and over again. So if you fill out the form and push refresh and just keep putting it in there, maybe someone will give you the Bitcoin.
If you don't see the form, you just have to click the thumbs up button and the form will automatically appear.
We have a bonded courier who is bringing us the form. They've been working on it for several years. It's called the Flower Fund. It's very safe. Safeu.
Safeu. The thing that the guy, if he had a couple of more brain cells that lost the hard drive. Sorry, mate, if you do actually have some brain cells, if you're watching this, but you could actually tokenize the loss and say, hey, it's worth this. These are called the hard drive coins, and they're never going to be found or spent. And these represent those. They sell at less than a premium, so they might be less than a Bitcoin for sure. But see, this is what experimenting with economic theory does. They did it with there was the big stone that represented money on this island, and people would they had their own sort of way of determining who owns what, because they had some sort of consensus mechanism that everyone on the island knew, oh, now that person owns that part of the rock, and that was money, and you would trade your little parts of a rock. Anyway, they ran out of place for this rock. I've forgotten what it's called. It's the island of something or other. But Mad, you probably know.
The rock is behind Thomas right now.
That's the Goonies rock. Going back to that guy, I think he made a mistake telling everyone that he lost his Bitcoins. He should have moved behind the scenes to purchase the landfill. Now that everyone knows there's $500 million at the time of this show in a landfill, it seems like someone else who's maybe a little sharper, a little quicker or something. We're being mean to this poor guy, but somebody else will put together a consortium, because he hasn't yet, apparently, and they will buy the dump. Someone else could end up with his hard drive.
How many landfills are there in this village where he lives? Because I don't think there's.
He knows
definitely-
the one. He claims it's the one. They've even, they've talked to the trash people and they're like, yeah, we used to bury stuff over there in OT4, in OT5, we switched to this lot, so you got a lot of choice. They know right where it is. It's easy.
But just to quickly finish my story, what happened? They ran out of space with this rock. They went to the people on the island went to get a new rock to add like some inflation. And on the way, there was a big storm and the rock fell. But they continued the monetary policy. They just said, well, we know where it is. It's not going anywhere. It's there. And so-and-so owns part of that rock now. And so they didn't actually need to have it on the island. And this guy could do the same sort of thing.
That reminds me of my favorite story about rocks from The Simpsons. Lisa says to her dad, she says, Dad, that's specious reasoning. By your logic, this rock keeps tigers away. You don't see any tigers around here, do you? And Homer goes, Lisa, I would like to buy your rock. We're running out of time. We're moving on to predictions. Forced prediction. I warned everyone before the show. It's coming back. Dan, Eve, make a prediction. Go ahead.
I predict that I will have just as much trouble making a prediction next week as I am having trouble making a prediction this week. And I think that my prediction will be that I don't know. I've failed. Okay. I've got it. Elizabeth Warren she's gonna buy Bitcoin and then start shilling it next week. She'll be like, oh, I overlooked the environmental stuff. And then she's like looking at Blockfolio as she's doing it, hoping the price just suddenly jumps when she says it.
That's a great prediction. First, the postmodern anti-prediction, followed by the amazing turnaround prediction. It's got a little bit of everything. Martine Wishmayer, Dan's a tough act to follow. What do you predict?
I predict that Michael Saylor will probably buy those Bitcoins from the US government that have been stolen from the Silk Road hacker, the stolen coins from the Silk Road that have been recovered by Chin and Snitch. So yeah, Michael Saylor will buy them all. He will buy them like off chain or not off the market. So the market won't dip too much. But I think that will happen within now and a year. So that will give me some time for my prediction to become reality.
It's never too late for Michael Saylor and Tim Draper to join with Mad Bitcoins to create a Bitcoin museum. They can pay for it and I'll help build it. Joshua Shigala, forced prediction. What will you predict?
Well, I predict that we're working on a prediction market to determine interest rates on the stability fees that we are doing on the standard. Yeah.
That's the best kind of prediction. You're predicting that you're predicting a market, that you'll predict a market. It's a circular prediction there. It goes on forever.
It's crazy. You go mad when you think about it.
Quite mad. All the best ones are. Dan, Eve, story of the week. What's exciting you this week?
Oh, what? I've already been caught out by a prediction. My story of the week was that everyone last week was wrong about their prediction, which was that the show would be on a Friday. So ha, and ha.
No, I didn't predict that. That was
Oh,
your prediction. No. I was the price up guy.
Oh, you're the price up guy.
You were the ones
that...
And he's laughing at himself. No one to blame but himself. Martine Wishmayer, story of the week.
We made a small modification to add on to the EveryTrade.io, where now you can just enter your Ethereum address and it will show you on your EveryTrade.io portfolio. It will show you your mega profits you made over the past year. And if you didn't cash out, then it will show you that you made the right decision because the price is up again. So if anyone has assets they want to see added, just let us know via the support link on EveryTrade.io because we can add any pair you want. So the idea is to be the most comprehensive accounting package for crypto, not just Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the big guys, but every single coin. If you hold a bag of the weirdest crypto you've ever seen, just let us know, and we will do our best to add it to your portfolio, including gold, like from the standard. That would be cool. I think we need gold prices on there definitely, but that's something for the future.
Joshua Shigala, story of the week.
Well, on the 14th, we're doing the private distribution of the standard. So check it out.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. We need a party.
Yeah. It's been so much work, and the community's massive now. It's really nice to see everyone in Discord. I never really used Discord much until recently, and it's so good. Like, it's so powerful, and it's so much better than Telegram. It's just Telegram is a horrible thing. It's great for like
Telegram.
Yeah, really. Like Telegram's good for like.
I like the paper airplane icon. I'm sold by the icon.
I do
like
stickers.
Stickers.
But instead, I like the Mickey Mouse pants of Discord. That's all I see is Mickey Mouse pants. But yeah, check out the Discord. Go onto thestandard.io, sign up to the whitelist, and get amongst it.
All right. Don't you realize the next time you see Sky, it'll be over another town? The next time you take a test, it'll be in some other school. Our parents, they want the best stuff for us. But right now, they've got to do what's right for them because it's their time up there. Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here. And that's all over the second we ride up Troy's bucket. There you go. There's your
Amazing.
Goonies lines. Check out the Goonies Rock. I'm in Oregon today. Thanks to everybody for watching, giving us a thumbs up. Put a comment down below if you're watching the show later. That lets us know it still works. Thanks to everybody in the chat. And be sure to push subscribe down there. Goonies never die. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.